narrating stories, I could create an impact. I could change mindset. And since then, there was never looking back. And I'm only excited to bring this great skill to every single person I meet. And really, if you look at an open, I remember early 2018 when I was reading Forbes magazine, it said that one of the top skills that any leader should, work with is storytelling. And since then, really storytelling has come up as one of the critical skills to develop, and there are a lot of work that's happening in this area. And today we are here talking to all of you about the same art.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. So my name is Neha. I'm the marketing director at Coacharya. Hi, Carla from Guatemala. Good morning to you. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Mateo. So good to see you all again. You may remember me from a previous webinar a couple of months ago called The Language of Coaching. Hi, Rajat from Delhi. You're quite nearby. So guys, I know you're expecting to see Magda here, but I'm subbing in for her today while she does her CEO things that CEOs do. And today I'm really excited to introduce all of you wonderful people to Kavita. So Kavita is one of our soon to be alumni, or are you an alumni? Have you finished already?
I finished a bridge course, and so I'm up for PCC.
You're up for PCC. Wonderful. So yes, Kavita has just finished her advanced coaching course with Coacharya. And Kavita is a storyteller, and she trains other people to tell stories. Hi, Kavita, and welcome. Welcome to the webinar. And in this webinar, Kavita will help you, or rather help us all to understand why storytelling is a way of life and how we can effectively apply this pertinent skill in the coaching of business. So I will hand it over to Kavita now, but I'll be here in the comments. If any of you have questions or comments during this webinar, I'll be taking note, and then we can bring it up with Kavita at the end. So over to you, Kavita. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's the word that I'm going to pick up from you, enjoy. I think one of the key things that storytelling brings is fun. Yeah. So let's get ready for lot of fun and a lot of stories that's going to be told today. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk to my fellow coaches about what is the power of stories and how we can use this storytelling cleverly in our engagement, and more pertinently in coaching business, as in when we want to build rapport, when we want to connect with our coaches, the new coaches, how we can use storytelling effectively to get them on board and bring that psychological safety through stories. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do today, and there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interaction that's going to happen. And personally, I believe that the only way that we can really learn is when we participate. So let's just actively participate through the session and go for it. So I'm going to share my screen here and tell you also a little bit about myself. Neha is going to help me with the chat. I think, am I able? I'm just going to see if I'm able to. Yeah, I can look at the chat. So great. So that's what it is. This is all about storytelling for coaches, to build trusting relationships and to build rapports with our new coaches. So what's going to happen today in next 1 hour is we're going to look at the why of storytelling, the power of storytelling and its relevance. We're going to look at the what of storytelling. Yeah? We're going to look at how storytelling can, what are those key elements of storytelling. And we're also going to experience some of effective tools and techniques. And I'm going to give you some tips that you can use for your next coaching engagement. So that's what is going to happen in next 1 hour. And before we get there, I'm sure you would like to know why me? Why am I talking about storytelling? Why is it that, what is that I have here that makes it, that brings all of you here to listen to? So about myself, here I am. Stories came to my life very early, either as a consumer of stories or as a creator of stories. I remember when growing up, my grandmother would tell me stories while she would churn butter, or when my mother would tell stories while ironing clothes. So stories were like part of life. We grew up listening to a lot of stories. And as today, as I speak to you, I'm creating stories for my own children. Playtime, mealtime, all time is story time. And as I went ahead in life, whether it was through books that I read or while I was working, when I was talking to I was in marketing, so when I was selling products and services, I would tell stories. So this is when stories really came to my life in different form. But when is that I really understood the impact that stories created was, I remember particularly this happened to me in a year 1998 when I just passed out from college. And I was volunteering with CRY, which is Child Relief and Youth. That's an NGO that works with children and children's issue. This particular year, we were working on a project for creating awareness against child labor. And the project was about, the entire Sivakashi issue, which was where child labor was very prominent. And that's where the whole firecracker industry lived or was prevailing. And the objective, like I said, was to create awareness. So what is that we did was that we went to different schools and we spoke to children there. And this is I remember it was my first presentation with the kids of a particular school in Mumbai called St. Mary's in Mazgaon. And I entered the grade 10th classroom. It's a boys' school, and the class was filled with 80 boys. And I began talking about Sivakasi. I began talking about the conditions, that I gave data. And 10 minutes into my presentation, I could see paper aeroplanes flying towards me. In 15 minutes, I really had to shut down. And believe me, this was my first presentation, and I also had some of my colleagues sitting there watching me. And I felt terrible. I went back home that evening and I went back to all my papers and I saw that what is that I can do different, and so something clicked for me. Following day, I just went to the same school, to the same class. And yet again, I walked into the grade 10, 80 boys sitting there and just really wondering, why is this lady back again? But this time I started differently, because this time I told them the story of Paru. Paru was an 8-year-old girl who lived in Sivakasi. Just like all these boys who go to school, she would wake up every single morning at 6 o'clock, hold her father's hand and walk, but not to school, but to the firecracker factory every single morning. Her parent would drop her to the factory, and there she would sit in one suffocated room all day in a crouching position and make firecrackers in that hazardous condition. As I narrated Paro's story, I saw something happening there. I saw hearts melting. I knew that at this point, I was able to reach out to those 15-year-olds. Message was there, very clearly, that this Deepavali, do not light firecrackers, light diyas instead. And yes, it was a great success. I must tell you, that particular year, that particular month, I traveled to 40 schools and spoke to over 1,500 children, and spoke about how we should stop child labor. And this is when the awakening happened for me, that I understood that how stories, just through narrating stories, I could create an impact. I could change mindset. And since then, there was never looking back. And I'm only excited to bring this great skill to every single person I meet. And really, if you look at an open, I remember in early 2018 when I was reading Forbes magazine, it said that one of the top skills that any leader should, work with is storytelling. And since then, really storytelling has come up as one of the critical skills to develop, and there's a lot of work that's happening in this area. And today we are here talking to all of you about the same art. So what is it? Let's start with you. I'm inviting all of you here to tell me a story. Tell us a 4-word story. Type your story in the chat box. I can start by sharing my story. I love sunshine. Let's pour in. Yeah. And she said, yes. Yeah, I'm a traveler. Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, great, Navneet. I'm enough. That's a 3-word, but not bad. Great to be alive, Manish. I changed my mind. Life is so wonderful, Anurag. Connections make me happy. Painting gives me happy. And they lived happily ever after. We're all connected. Enjoying every single moment. Wonderful, Jayanti. Great, Kanan. I am what I am. That's me, yes. Manish says, once upon a time. Anshu Bhargav. I'm loving this. This is so beautiful that all of us are sharing stories. What is this telling us? We're here because there is an awareness that storytelling is way of life. And really long before the invent of printing press, it was oral art of storytelling that that was the only way to conduct business. Yeah. I love this one, Carla, which says, beautiful, sunny, happy morning. I'm always growing. Yes, Adrian. Beautiful stories, everyone. Great exercise. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I like smiling people. Me too. So what is this whole exercise all about? What is that is coming up for you when you are doing this exercise? Imagination and creativity. Absolutely. Great. What else? What else? Tell me more. Distillation of ideas. Connecting with real life. Connection is my word. Yeah, absolutely. Fires up the right brain. Isn't that wonderful? That's what stories do. It fires up the right brain. And once you fire up the right brain, creativity and imagination flows, expression flows. Open up so you gain trust. That's the point. Business coaching, business is all about helping others to open up and to gain trust. There are other things also that this whole exercise is telling us. There are 3 things that this exercise is telling us. If, with your permission, can I share? One, One, this exercise is telling us is that we're all born storytellers. We can all tell stories. There's a proof of the pudding. All of you know right here. It's all for you to see that we can all tell stories. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. Second is that we feel good. We feel spirited when we listen to stories and when we tell stories. When you're listening and when you're reading these beautiful stories, it just lifts our spirit. Just like somebody said, like it sparks up some right brain. Just some, and obviously stories have lasting impression. You will remember this. You will remember this for a long, long, long time. So that's what is, even when 4 words come together, we can create a story. That's what this whole exercise told us. And I think that's a wonderful takeaway for us, and for us to remember that we can all tell stories and there's nobody who cannot just tell a story. Yeah. With that, let's move ahead. So where did it all begin? You know, stories are really the ancient means of passing wisdom and culture. And the guru, like for all of this, is Aristotle, who 2,500 years ago in his book Poetics spoke about the entire the benefits and the effect, the impact of storytelling. He spoke about the beginning, middle, and the end. This is where the foundation of storytelling was laid. And therefore, I'm really curious to know that, according to you, what role stories play in your lives? Yeah, stories, yes, Donna. Stories create connectivity. That's the prime function of storytelling. It has the bonding mechanism. It inspires. It's fascinating. True. And we've just witnessed some great fact. We witnessed all of this. Yeah. It has lessons that we learn. Seeing our own life as a story, and we can reflect on it. Yeah, Rajat. It has great impact. It humanizes you. Yeah, true. Man. There's so much here, right? We all know this. It creates a long-lasting impact. We remember stories. We learn daily. Yeah. If you say the same thing through a story, it's more likely that people will remember instead of just posing data. Yeah. It builds relationship, and that's why it becomes even more important for us coaches to learn this, and not more than learning, to adopt this skill actively in our daily conversation. A container for verbal content. How clever. Manish, that's very clever. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. I think there's a lot that tells us here that, you know, what role stories are playing in our lives. And just to, you know, take cognizance of that role. Now, let me just take you back and ask you this question, that imagine that you have to go and approach a coach. And thank you so much, Sanjeev. Yes, stories pass on wisdom. So coming back to the imagination, is that imagine that you have to approach a coach because you need some help with your career. What are the things that you will do? I know something that I would do. One of the first things that I would do is that I will go onto the internet. I'll go onto Google and frantically type career coach. And with that, some 5 million blah, blah, blah search results will just pop up. Right? That's the kind of number. And then I will frantically, run, browse windows, open about me page, this page, and I'm just trying to figure out, how can I find the best career coach for myself? Right? I'll open, I'll find, I'll look for people. I'll say, oh, this lady here, she's saying something like self-sabotaging, belief, practice. I don't know what these words mean. And then I look more, and it's somebody saying fulfilling dream, grateful, curious. I don't know what does that mean, but I'm still confused. There's some hope here, but I can't find, I'm not able to take that decision. What is that I do next is, I remember that I have a friend who also had, approached a career coach and who worked with the career coach. And I know that she changed her career after working with a coach. So what is that I do? I pick up my phone and I quickly call her up and I say that, hey, Sita, I need your help. I've been, I know that you have spoken to some career coach sometime back. You're working with a coach. I am also stuck. I really need your help. Can you suggest, can you recommend? That's when I hear Sita saying something. I hear Sita saying, yes, you know what, this happened a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2018, August. It was a rainy day. I remember it was raining heavily and I had booked an appointment with this lady. Her name was Sumitra Ghosh. And I went I went to the address. It was really raining hard and I was, soaking. I was wet, hot, and all my trousers were all wet. It was, in fact, I thought that I'll go back. But no, I entered her place. And the first thing that she did was, she handed over this yellow towel and she made sure that I was comfortable. And she handed over a cup of chai, a hot cup of chai, and she made me comfortable. And then, the first question she asked me just kind of blew me away. She asked me, how am I feeling? And this was a question I think nobody ever asked me before, or I don't think I asked this question to myself ever. And after this it was like floodgates opening up, and I poured out and I spoke to her, and she really made me comfortable. And all that she did, I remember in our first session, was listening. She just heard me out, and that really felt good. And we worked together for, I think, 8 months. And I spoke to her about, all that I was going through. I felt stuck. I wanted to change my career. And we worked together. She asked questions. She asked a lot of questions. And I don't think she ever gave me any solution. But yeah, this is her, Sumitra Ghosh. Do you want me to pass her number to you? And boom, that's it. I have made my decision. I close all browsers and I take Sumitra's number. Doesn't this happen to all of us? Yeah, Shivani, you have a question. Q is a question, or I don't understand that symbol. Absolutely, yeah. This happens to all of us. Do you identify? And believe me, this is something that would happen to everybody who's looking out for coaches. So how can we create these magical moments for our, coaches who are looking for coaches, who are yet to become coaches in that manner? Yeah? So what is this telling us? What is that is coming up for us here? The first thing that this tells us that stories are more powerful than Google, absolutely, because stories are memorable. Stories are memorable, yeah. I remember, meeting one of my participants. I've been conducting storytelling sessions for last 5 years now. And I remember meeting one of my participants recently at an airport. And the first thing, she met me and she said that, I remember how you explained competitive advantage. You told us a story. And so it just felt, it was an aha moment, because messages stick. It's most likely that people will remember the message that you're trying to give when you tell them through a story. Yeah? And what is happening to us, therefore, if you just look at us as humans, what's happening to us when we are listening to stories? Yes, absolutely. Stories reduce the social distance between each other. We feel more connected through them. And what makes it so memorable? Yeah, it helps imagine ourselves in that situation. It's relatable, right? So you remember. The first thing that happens is you remember. Then you relate to those stories. When you relate to these stories, you tend to retain all that comes along with that story. And when you retain those information or what has come along with the story, you will remember to retell it again and again, yeah, without losing the essence. That's the power. It engages us. We get drawn towards it. Yes, we become, yeah, it's one of the, that's a lovely word, empathetic. Yes, it does. It gets you fully engaged. Yeah. So what's happening to us when we listen to story in our brain? When we say that stories, help us, help make sure that messages stick, what's happening inside our brain? What's happening is that there is a clear, a lot of research has been done in this area, and the research tells us that human beings are wired to understand stories. Yeah? And in fact, there's one particular research that I would like to quote here. It was done by Heat Brothers in 2011. And what they did was they picked up two sets of students. To one set, they gave information. All they did was they spoke about a certain event and gave only data to them. Okay. And to the next set of participants, they were students. And instead of just giving data by itself, they gave stories around the data. After a couple of hours, when they got back and they ran a test to find out that how many remembered the information that was shared. And it was alarming. The student group that only received data remembered only 23% of the information, while the group that received data along with story recollected close to 83% of information. So what's happening? So stories really directly, connects to our both prefrontal and our reptilian brain. Okay, because when it comes to language, words, it's the prefrontal that gets, is processed. The language is processed, while the emotional reaction and how we remember and associated with our own memories is done through our reptilian brain. And this is what happens to us when we listen to stories. This is when the emotions get triggered. Our limbic system loves stories. Thank you so much, Mom, for telling us. And so when you hear the word in a story, or when you're reading a book, when you hear a word caught, a ball, You actually feel that you're catching a ball. So that's the kind of, because your sensory motor cortex gets lit up, it lights up, it lights up. Yeah. So this is what really happening to us when we listen to story. That's how it, make sure that we remember them. Stories are credible. So if your listener doesn't find you credible, they won't care. So stories is a great way to build rapport. It's the way to speak about authenticity. You have an option to go and tell your listener or your audience that, you know what, I'm a authentic guy, and you think they will get you? No. Instead, tell them a story where you have demonstrated authenticity. It's more likely that they will believe you. Yeah? So stories help you build credibility. It's a great way to uh, build rapport, build connection, build that bond that you're looking for. And one of the things that happens, particularly in stories, is what we call is a lean in behavior is demonstrated. So, I mean, like I said earlier, right, I have conducted several sessions, met over 3,000 participants during doing storytelling sessions. One of the, peculiar thing that happens in every storytelling session is, typically we not, this is pre-pandemic days, when we do it in a setting, classroom setting, where we have different tables and there is one person who is sharing their personal story. Every other participant in that group would lean in to listen. And that's like phenomenal. And that happens in every session. So what is this telling us? That when you tell stories, you will see people leaning in to listen to you. And that also adds to the whole credibility. Yeah? Stories create impact. In fact, I'm a huge fan of Indra Nooyi. I remember in 2006 when she was announced as CEO of PepsiCo. I neatly cut, a newspaper clipping, and I put it on my soft board. And I still have this newspaper cutting because it's a reminder of possibilities. But really, look at her. How her one story that she shared about, the day she became a CEO, she came back home excited to share this news with her family. And when she entered her home, her mom said that, there's no milk in the house, go get. Well, she did go and get milk. Fumingly, she came back and she was again, excited to share. And she said that, you see, I've become a CEO. Her mother looked at her and, said to her, leave your crown in the garage. When you're at home, you're a mother, you're a daughter, and you are a wife. And this is a story that Indra Nooyi shares again and again when she talks about work-life balance. And we've heard this story. I'm sure all of you have heard this story several times. And that was kind of a movement that happened thereon, where working women, how they manage their lives, all of this was brought to forefront. And today it's celebrated. So stories create impact, right? It tells you what's happening and how you can see what you want to work with. You can create that impact by just sharing stories. Stories matter in business. It's not only about telling stories at social gathering or to get people to feel for you, but it also matters in business. And I think advertisers do it brilliantly. You just go in 30 seconds, a TV ad, you're sold, right? They manage to sell you anything when you watch those lovely advertisements on television. And I think in today's day and time, Instagram influencers do it very well. So stories matter in business. How do you actually tell stories to talk about your who am I? Who are we? What is our business all about? What are the values that we uh, propagate at workplace? What is our culture? You can do it through stories. You can say that yes, we are a place where you can, where everything is transparent, or you can tell them the story which demonstrate transparency. It's more likely that you will have more buyers than just by saying that, I am trustworthy or I'm transparent. And there are again like research which tells us that there is the ROI of stories is there are figures which says it's like 28.06%. And the story here is that how there was a gentleman who sold his used car by telling a story for when the amount otherwise would have been X, but just because he shared a story that how in that car, a lot of life events happened for him and it has brought beautiful memories. And that became the selling point. And the auction price just went up zoomingly by 28.06%. So that's how why stories matter in business, and especially in our business when we want to connect with our people who are interested in being coached. Story spread. I think this is a great example here. We have Greta Thunberg's story, that how she her travel, how she an Asperger's child traveling continents and speaking about global warming became a phenomenon, right? So stories spread. And what is this? All of this is telling us. Yeah? It tells us that if we tell stories, it's more likely that it will, through word of mouth, people will talk about it and therefore build credibility, therefore help business, therefore create that impact, therefore, inspire and then build relationship. So that's what stories do. Now, if I ask you this question, that how powerful do you think it would be if every time you spoke, people believed in you? What if I ask you that every time you spoke, people got inspired by it? Every time that you spoke, you could drive action. Every time you spoke, you could, get them to whatever you said would go ahead and would, people would talk about it and your message would be spread. How powerful it will be. And there's only one thing that can help you to get there, and that is stories. Isn't that wonderful? Any thoughts that you would like to share here? So let's go ahead and ask ourselves and understand that what is really a story. Not everything that is labeled as a story is a story. And here I would like to show you a couple of videos, and I would like you to see what's happening here. Just pay attention.
My name is Advesha and I'm an analyst with the engineering operations team. What we do as a team is we provide operational excellence to engineering teams, and we act as a bridge between the executive team and the different product teams that we have. SAP has always been a very reputed and very famous company, even in India. They have won the best place to work for in different magazines and different portals like Glassdoor and then Forbes. Every small business or large businesses there are using SAP products. For finances, they're using SAP Concur. For HR, they are using SAP SuccessFactors. Even my dad's company uses SAP. So it's been quite a familiar name for me. And going by the reputation, it has always been one of the companies I wanted to work for. The reason I chose SAP mainly was the people I interviewed with. I had a fabulous interview experience. I was called on site after 2 telephonic rounds. And the people I met here, everybody had a very clear vision of what they are working on and what are the upcoming opportunities for the team for which they needed to hire me. So I really liked that clarity, and that's why people made a huge influence on my decision to choose this. For me, it has been a very collaborative environment that I work on. Our team is very small, but it's very diverse. And everybody listens to your ideas and everybody tries to make it happen. Visibility is one thing, but the trying part is another, right? So everybody is very appreciative of your ideas and they try to make it happen. It has been a fabulous journey till now. I have been growing professionally, personally, technically, because of all the tools that I have been learning, because of all the languages that I'm learning. It's been fabulous. It's been extremely engaging all this while.
Thank you so much for watching. I would like you to watch one more video. Sorry.
My name is Anvesha.
My name is Martin Rosenqvist. I work at strategy and business ownership, and I've been at Volvo 11 years now. I was 19 and I had borrowed my mother's car for a week. She was away on business, and I was driving to school. I was not speeding. I wasn't going that fast, but I was also fiddling a bit with radio, I think. Then I noticed that the car was sort of going straight in the curb onto the right-hand side. And I tried to maneuver against it. And as I hit the gravel on the side of the road, the car sort of lunged itself over the other side of the road and into a ditch. And then there was just the sound of shattering glass and just, metal breaking. And I came to, and I don't know if it was minutes or seconds, I was completely silent. But then I heard something, and it was music. It was the stereo playing. So I got my bearings, and I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't open. So I climbed out through the driver's seat window, which was gone basically. And that's actually where I obtained the only sort of damage in this whole thing. And that was, I cut my knuckle a little bit from the glass that was still on the window frame. And I got out of the car and I had my cell phone in my pocket. So I called my father. He said, call the police, call the tow truck, and I'll come pick you up at the hospital. It was sort of, at that time, we realized how severe the impact was. Because when we towed the car out, I had a wristwatch on, and that was gone. And we found that underneath the car, everything was broken. And I've rarely seen my father cry, but at that time he broke down completely. The girl driving the tow truck and the police were sort of unanimous that Volvo saved my life at that time. I thought it would be more dramatic somehow. It's a ditch on the side of the road. But I guess that and times the forces of the car crashing makes it a big thing. But yeah, working for Volvo and the safety heritage that we have, and now being in the car programs, I know and I experience firsthand that we don't take it lightly, and that's fantastic. There are the legal requirements, and then there are the Volvo requirements. And we meet the Volvo requirements, and that's a lot tougher, and that's a lot better for our customers. Today I have a V90 cross country, and I make a point of always keeping the active safety systems on in the car. I find them inconvenient at times, but I know that they matter. And had I had those systems, maybe it wouldn't have happened. My name is Martin Rosen.
Sorry, once. So do you get it? What is a story and what is not a story? Do you see the stark difference between the first video and the second video? So clearly, yeah. So clearly, the first one was not a story. But we hear all of that all the time. Yeah? But the second one is the story. And I'll tell you why is it a story and what makes it a story. A story will have a time marker. If you remember, the first thing that he said, when I was 19 years old. So that is a time marker. So every story will have a time marker. Second, what will happen is that a story will have a place marker. Where did it happen? Like in this story that we just watched and heard, while I was going to school. Yeah, story has a climax, true. The third thing that makes it a story is there are sequence of events that happen. He took his car, he went to school driving, then there was a crash. So there was sequence of events that took place. And then there was aha moment when I saw that what happened to the watch. There is aha. I'll answer that question, Rajat. Give me a couple of minutes, please. The fifth element is characters. The stories will have characters and characters will speak. So here he said that I called my father. I spoke to him. This is what happened. Yeah? So there are characters and they will have dialogues between them. That's a story. And finally, there is a business message. In this case, there is a message of safety, Volvo safety. There is rules of safety and there's Volvo rules of safety. So how in less than 3 minutes, a story can create that impact? So Rajat, to give you that answer, the story should not be more than 3 to 4 minutes. But if after that, you will lose your audience attention. So in that 3 to 4 minutes, you have to create that impact. You have to make sure that it has a place marker, time marker, sequence of events, aha moment, characters, and yes, there has to be a message. No message, the entire story has no meaning to it. Yes, 3 to 4 minutes, it is. Yeah. So the invitation to all of you is how we can make storytelling a habit. Every conversation that you have, see how you can create stories around it, how you can tell stories. And most importantly, the invitation is to tell your personal story. I truly believe really that the power of story is the best hope that we have to improve lives. And then I tell my participants, that tell your personal stories because it's believable. It's unique. It's your story. Nobody can copy it. It's your story. There's no copy paste. It belongs to you. Tell your story. When you do that, you share vulnerability, you share connection, you share bonding. There is credibility to it. So tell your personal story, and especially in our business that we are in. And I'm going to invite one of my coaches here to share her journey of how she used storytelling and how she's been using storytelling effectively at workplace. Or so here, Payal, all yours.
Hi, Kavita. Thank you. So, the way I want to narrate my story is, I will take you all back to the coaching cohort that I was a part of, and Kavita was a part of that as well. And we were the last PCC batch with Priya. And when Kavita did a similar session for us on storytelling, post that, the homework she gave us was to come up with with a story of why are we doing coaching, or why do we want to become a coach. Okay. And let me tell you the story that I wrote, or my story of why I am a coach. And this was before I did the detailed sessions with Kavita, right? And I'm reading out from my homework sheet that I had written for Priya and Kavita. And it is, I have about 25 years of experience in various companies, mostly in the technology services space. Some of the leadership roles that I've been in are business head for NEP vertical, 200 million USD plus in Aricent, a product engineering services company, now a part of Capgemini. Chief Strategy Officer for Aricent to develop and execute the growth strategy that we launched in 2014, Chief Commercial Officer for ISS, Vice President IBM responsible for strategic sales, blah, 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 right? And then I wrote, in 2020, I decided to leave IBM to pursue my personal bucket list. As a leader, I strongly believe that leadership is the ability to bring out the best in people around you. It's about inspiring people to be their best versions. Coaching is something I've always believed in, and now I had the time to hone my skills. I am pursuing my coaching certification from ICF. I have almost 200 hours of coaching. I'm working with some companies in the technology industry, coaching their leadership teams, mentoring some startups, and I believe I have found my calling as a coach and a mentor. So this is what I did pre my sessions with Kavita. And, when she was taking us through this session, similar to what she did today, I realized that there was no story. It was very bland. It was like me reading out my resume. And that's when I decided to do these sessions with Kavita, not just to build a story for myself, but actually also to understand my story. And this is the story that I have developed now. It's still work in progress. But I just wanted all of you to get a flavor of what it means to go through these sessions, right? So this is what I talk about now as a coach. It starts with, I joined IBM on 2nd September 2019. It was a leadership role. The brand was highly respected, salary was great. After a series of leadership roles in the industry, this was my entry into the premium league of corporate India. I had arrived. My excitement was palatable as I walked into my new office with a spring in my steps and a feeling of success in my heart. Unfortunately, just 6 months down the line, from that very excited spring in my steps moment, there was a massive reorg announced at a global level. The alternate role offered was not a leadership role, nor an exciting enough role for me to overlook the situation, and hence I decided to leave IBM. To say that I was sad would be an understatement. I was heartbroken. I also knew that getting an equivalent role, especially during COVID, is going to be tough, which means for the first time in my adult life, after 25 years, I would be sitting at home with no work. But then what is life without some bumps? It's not that I have not surmounted challenges before in my life, This time, however, I decided to look at the situation with an alternate perspective. Was this a challenge or an opportunity? An opportunity to pause, an opportunity to explore what else I want to do in life, an opportunity to rebuild and prepare myself for the next phase of my life. I decided to do the things that had been in my bucket list for long, unattended, ignored because of work. I started my ICF coaching training in September of that year. And today I'm a certified ACC coach, about to complete my PCC. I started mentoring startups and technology companies and have now moved on to coaching their leadership teams. I'm going through, and as I went through my coaching journey, it also triggered my own self-reflection to define what I really want to do next. And I now end my break with so much more clarity on my path, fully rejuvenated, a certified coach, a mentor, a much more broad-based leader armed with the necessary skills for the next phase of my life journey. No life situation is bad. It's our reaction to the situation which defines it as good or bad. I believe in making lemonade if life throws you lemons. And this time, the lemonade brought out the coach in me. And I'm very thankful for that.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So do you, just for everybody's, for everybody to look at it, there is a time marker. There is a place marker. There are sequence of events that happen. There's a character here that is Payal. She's speaking about it herself and her own journey. And obviously there's an aha moment, right? There's a point where she comes and she realizes, oh, this is what I want to do, And finally, there's a message. Did you get that message in the end? So if you see, this is what has been happening. And Payal, I really want you to share that what makes this storytelling so important.
Yeah. So I think, and I think you have said that in the session today, Kavita, but if I look at my own story, right, what I had written earlier to what I wrote now, I think the impact and is much more because it's more personal, right? It's in a story format instead of it being, like a like a lecture, like a CV. It's more of a story. So the audience can relate much more to this personal story. They can connect much more to me as a coach or as a leader. And that's what makes the storytelling so powerful.
Absolutely. And it also demonstrates courage and confidence. So when we share our own personal story, we are demonstrating a lot about ourselves, which is much more than what you're sharing as words. We have stories add up emotions and feeling that makes it more relatable. Absolutely. And thank you so much, Payal. Is there something that you would like to add or say here?
Otherwise, nothing except that it was a great journey. And I also want to add that I also write. I write my blog. But, after going through the session with Kavita, I did understand some nuances about storytelling, which I was not very clear of. And I can see my writing improve as well. Thank you, Kavita.
You're very welcome. And I'm really happy that you're taking this up and actively and therefore seeing the change that you want to see. Great. Well done. So let's just open the space if there is any questions that you have, and we have time, then we can address those questions. So I think KD Core, it says, how appropriate is it for coaches to share their personal stories in sessions? So a word of caution here is that don't share stories which you haven't processed. Share stories which you have processed, worked upon, you have understood the aha moment, you know the message that you want to share. So that's the word of caution. And it's okay to share personal stories. And I have done it several times, and I have always got positive response. Any other question?
Hi, Kavita. Jumping back on. Hello, everyone again. Kavita, what a beautiful and illuminating session on storytelling. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Payal, as well, for jumping on and showing us a real live example of the transformation that takes place. I really appreciate you coming on as well.
Thank you.
And I actually have a question for you as well. How do you, maybe we won't talk in the business sense right now. I just want to talk about personal stories for a second. Do you think about the sequence of events and then come up with a story? Or do you already have a message and then try to find like a filter through which you look for the story in the sequence of events that has already taken place? I'm just curious to know how it operates for you.
I can share this personally. This is how it works for me. Sometimes it works both ways. If there is a message that I want to give out in my session or through my workshops, then I just go back to my life and ask myself, is there something that can help me to simplify this message? And then, aha, boom, it comes. Then there are also times when it so happens that, I am doing something and something happens. There's aha that happens. And I say, oh, there's a lesson right here. Let me put it down. And then I have something, what I call is a story bank. And I would, this is how we hold and work with stories. We all storytellers have story banks, and we keep it's like simple Excel sheet where we put down the messages. We alongside write down what are the stories that we want to share to elucidate those messages, and we put down the keywords for us to remember those stories. So invitation for all of you is that all the stories that you heard today, you can create a story bank and start right away. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And I also just want to address KD Kaur's question how appropriate it is for coaches to share their personal stories in sessions. I think Kavita already answered it. I think I just want to take a little twist on it and say it's also very appropriate for coaches to share their personal stories when they're marketing, when they're talking about their coaching. So perhaps the relevance of this session can very much be applied there in the marketing side of things. When you're telling your story, when you're having your initial call with your client, when your first call with a potential client, or you're making a post on Instagram, just tell a story about whatever message it is you want to give. So that's just my 2 cents that I wanted to share.
Well said, Reena. And thank you so much for that clarification, because we don't want to take the spotlight away from our coaches, by sharing our personal stories during the session, because it's about them, right? True. This is particularly when we want to talk about who am I, or what is that I do, or what values do I, carry with myself when I talk about coaching. So that's when we use personal stories.
That's right.
Yeah. I hope this session was of value, and I hope all of you take up storytelling actively and work with it.
Yes, I know I will. I've already got the wheels spinning in my head. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for this session. And I know there are a lot of comments here. Dr. Tasneem is saying she's going to change the way of writing blogs and posts on social platforms. Like, that's the impact you're having. So thank you so much for sharing your stories as well.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Rajat. That's a compliment.
Rajat says it's his best session on Coacharya so far. Fantastic. Great. So we'll wrap up here then, Kavita. If anyone else has a question, we can give you another 30 seconds to ask it in the comments. Payal, I just wanted to mention that your, your before and after, so to speak, for lack of a better term, I could even see and I could feel your excitement when you told your story, when you gave us the revamped version of your sequence of events. So that was really wonderful to watch as well.
Yep.
Shivani, I must tell you, the first book that I read on storytelling was Storyteller's Secret. And you can start with that.
Great. Kavita, maybe as a final note for the session, I'd love to know, what is the storyteller's secret?
It's about, telling stories straight from the heart. And, just take those jargons and flush it out. It's about telling your stories simply.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, perfect, eloquent. And that's a great bow to this beautiful present that we've had in this session. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Payal. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
And thank you, Coacharya, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
We're glad to have you.
We have spun another story today.
Indeed, indeed. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, night, afternoon, wherever you are. And take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.